What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm Turbo John. We're out here in the garage working on the new race car. Well, I guess I can still call it new. We're still working the bugs out of it. We've had it out now for a couple months. Starting to run really fast. Big block Chevrolet, single turbo. We got our first win this past weekend. It was really fun. We got our personal best that last pass too. But we got some problems. If you got a race car, if you live race car life, you know it's always build it, race it, break it, repeat. And even when you don't actually have major breakage, you still have to work on it. So that's what we're doing today. We did have a problem, and so we're gonna work on it. Let me show you what we're gonna do to try to fix the problem. If you've not already, hit that subscribe button. Consider doing it. Get to see a lot of cool racing content. Follow us along, me and all my buddies doing this drag racing stuff. If it's free, it doesn't cost you a thing. Comment, like, and subscribe. Check this out. Appreciate it, guys. All right, guys, so if y'all joined the last video, previous video, the video before last, the fuel pump was leaking, so we took the fuel pump off of it. We rebuilt it, put some seals in it. Everything was fine. We did notice a couple times, though, as the car has gotten faster, that on shutdown, we were losing fuel pressure. And so losing fuel pressure on shutdown, not that big a deal. If you have an electric pump, it comes right back up. But if you have a mechanical pump, which is like we do here, this is driven directly off of the camshaft. So sometimes it is not easy to prime, especially if it is above the fuel cell. So if you look, the top of the fuel cell is a little bit below that fuel pump. We did make some brackets, some adapters, and I moved it up. So we spaced it up about 4 inches, trying to make it better. And it may have made it better, but it doesn't seem like it really made a difference. We also went from a number 12 line to a number 16 line. And this line is really close to here, but it's got room. We got this little heat sleeve on it, so it's fine. So I got a couple options. 2 things I could do. From this point, I never had a problem before, because when I had it on my old car, when it was a small block Chevrolet, I never had a cam-driven fuel pump. I always had a belt drive. And so the belt drive basically was just down low, and it was down over on the side over here. So we could do this same thing. I've still got this stuff from the old car. Hang on, let me show you.
Want to weld buttery dimes like a pro? Enter our Everlast Welder giveaway for your chance to win the ultimate welding package.
We're not just giving away a machine.
The winner will also receive a welding helmet, gloves, and cups from Furic. Plus, you'll spend a full day at Tin Soldier HQ, learning all the tips and tricks from Jason and the rest of the boys. To enter, grab some merch from our website, including the limited edition Dimes Over Dishonor t-shirt, and you're in. Every dollar spent is 1 entry into the drawing. 1 lucky winner, 1 epic prize. Will it be you? Weld like a soldier boy. Enter today. TinSoldierRacecars.com.
So this is the belt drive setup, essentially. So what this is the little lollipop. It's got the gear on it, and then you just have to find a spot to mount this. I've had this thing forever, other than that billet one there. I broke mine, I don't know if y'all remember last year. But essentially the fuel pump turns around and it bolts on the nose, which we could do it this way. We could just rotate this way. But we would have to move it. And so that would involve coming over here somewhere, and basically somewhere in this area, like right here maybe. That line's a little bit in the way. But if we were to put that there, then our fuel pump would be just a little bit below the fuel cell. Actually, it'd be probably right there on it. So if it had 1 or 2 inches of fuel in the fuel system, in the fuel cell, then it would gravity flow it. And then it would be fine. It wouldn't have an issue. It should prime itself back up. That's the way you always want to do these. Like in Brian's car, Randy's car, you know, every other car, Mike, everybody that has this type of setup, they have the fuel cell up high enough to where it can gravity flow to the pump. If it can gravity flow to the pump, then you usually don't have a problem. So that's our 2 choices. Right now is to move the cell or move the pump, or put an electric primer pump on this thing. So that's what we're going to do. I bought me a primer pump, and we're going to try to work it out. I don't know if you've ever seen those before, done a little bit of research. I've got these extra outlets here on the bottom of the fuel cell. Essentially what we're going to do is it's going to have an inline electric pump. And this inline electric pump, I'm going to set it up in the Holly so that it only comes on at certain times. I've got to figure that out. I think I figured out how I'm going to do it, but I just got to make it work. So the fuel pump's going to be mounted under here. The line's going to come up, and I bought a fitting to go here, and so we'll have a number 6 with an 1/8 inch T to here or here, and it'll also have a check valve that is built onto the pump. Now I just got the pump today, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on mounting the pump now. The rest of the stuff I should have tomorrow to finish this. So I'm gonna try to get what I can done tonight, mount the pump, and then tomorrow we'll finish it. Now by doing that, so sucking the fuel from here, some people were saying you could put it into this extra port on the regulator, which that would be fine, but you would need to have a fuel filter in there because obviously, you know, sometimes you'll get some trash in here and we don't want that into the injectors. We know the injectors are sensitive. If they get any trash in them, they get stuck open, it's a bad deal. So we always want to have filtered fuel going up there. So what we're going to do is plumb it up here. That way this fuel filter here goes ahead and cleans the fuel, stops any debris. We cleaned that the other day and it did have debris in it. So stuff does get from the tank through the pump up to here. This is like I think it's a 60 micron filter, what I have in this one now. But let me show you what I got. All right, guys, so Amazon is my friend on this one. There's a bunch of different fuel pumps out there, but this Evil Energy is the one I went with. It looks like they're all very similar, but this is if you look at the little ticket here, Evil Energy external 12 volt, 300 liter per hour, high flow with a bracket. So, of course, it is imported, but that is, for what we're doing here, I think it's going to be okay. If you look at some of the other pumps out there, they all have this same similar look. Now, wow, that thing is bigger than what I thought it was going to be. But I also found a one-way check valve that will actually screw in to right here. It'll be here tomorrow or Thursday. And so the one-way check valve, what it'll do is it'll let the fuel go this way, but then when the mechanical pump is on and working, then it won't let it backflow back in there. Now, they do say this is compatible with alcohols, so I guess we'll find out. And that should get all the air out of the line is the plan. You know, I guess you could, in theory, put a very small, you know, very, very small pump in it and let it pump in, and then that would backflow and feed the pump some, and then put a little bit of pressure up in there. And that would work, but this way I wanted to actually do it so that I actually had pressure, and I wanted to be able to get it. Because that's the thing I found with this mechanical pump. The last time we missed it, I didn't really show you guys. After I rebuilt the pump, put the pump on it, me and Chase, it took us about 30 minutes to get this thing primed up. Should have done a video on it, but I didn't, and it was brutal. And I say brutal, like we got fuel flowing through it, we thought, but there was a big air pocket somewhere in the system, and that air pocket was not happy, and it would crank for a second and then cut off, crank for a second, cut off. And then finally we got fuel pressure, and then it was fine. But we ended up having to actually take this out, and I'm actually going to show y'all right now in a minute too, how we actually did it so I can pump the fuel out of this cell, because we got to get that out to get this on. So let me show you what we got. Let me get the fuel out of there. That's pretty interesting. Hang on. All right, guys, so this is real easy to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the return line off of the regulator. Now, I could take it off where it goes up there too, but this will just get it all out of here. So I'm going to take the return line off. Of course, there's a little fuel in it. I got my empty fuel jug. And so I'm going to slide it right here, put the hose in there. This is something I learned this last time because, well, I had to do it. Didn't have a choice. So we're just trying to get the fuel out of here. I guess I could gravity drain it out, but this is, I guess this is a good something else too. If you guys ever have to prime your fuel system, it actually works pretty good. So you just pull this out. It's kind of hard because of my line. This will actually crank the car too, if you ever needed to. That's the option. That's the wrong way. You can hear it pumping fuel, and then when you're turning it the correct way, almost got all of it out. And of course, like I said, if you wanted to take it, bypass the regulator, that's fine. But this pump, at this RPM, this pump is spinning. It'll make enough pressure to actually bypass. I guess this is also a test of your injectors. If you've got an injector that's seeping, you will flood your motor right now. And hydraulic it, so that would be a bad thing. And it just lost its prime right there. And I guess it might get a little bit of fuel back flowing. Nice empty. So now we have gotten the fuel out of the cell. All right, so now we have emptied our cell. That's like a 3.5 gallon cell. So we got about 3.5 gallons in here. There's still some in here, obviously. But the fuel cell is now bone dry, empty for the most part. So I guess what happens is you got gravity and everything working against you, right? So when you slam on brakes, with the fuel pump being higher, I mean, for sure, I don't know if it actually uncovers this or not. And then we got rollover vents on these. So, I mean, you know, if the fuel sloshes forward, it wouldn't come out there anyway. So everything is sealed up. I mean, we don't have any spills or anything happening. So I don't know if the volume, when you shut down, it goes down. I mean, I guess that's possible, right? If you're halfway and then you slam on brakes, it's going to come over it, maybe uncovering it. So maybe a solution would be just to have more volume, have 5 or 6 gallons instead of 3.5. But that's what we got for right now. So let's see where we're going to put this pump at. I have an adapter. This cell had number 8s here, so we got them capped. So I've got an adapter coming from that number 8 to go to the fuel pump. All right, guys. Well, we got this thing mostly together. Like I said, it comes with the fittings. Now, these are special fittings, so you got to be careful. I drop things a lot, so you got to hold on to it tight, because if you damage that fitting, it's not going to be something you can just get at your local parts store. It's not EMPT, and it's not AEN fitting. It's a metric thread in the pump. In this end of the pump also, it is a helicoil in there, because I think the body is aluminum. There's also a little fine mesh down in there. Now, they recommend putting a filter before this, but I'm not going to put one on it because I'm not going to be running it all the time. And I don't know if I can clean that or not, but it is what it is. Of course, like I was saying, you do have to have a check valve. I was just trying to blow through this, and it does blow through. So I've heard some people say that the pump itself is a check valve. Now, it is a restriction. It does not like free flow, but it does move. So if you just had this up there when the fuel pressure was, when the pump was making pressure and this was not running, then this would be trying to backflow just a little bit. Don't know, I mean, with a super high volume pump, it might not be that big a deal, but it's just something that you don't want to do. Okay, so now we got to figure out where we're going to put this to get gravity flow. I'm thinking that anywhere up here will work, right? So we're going to lay down under the car, figure out where we can put it. This is a number 10, like I was saying, so I'm going to have a fitting, an adapter to come from there to here. And I got plenty of number 10 hose, and then we'll just have a piece of number 6 running back up that way. Okay, let's figure out what's going to be the best spot to mount this. I mean, I was going to say we could mount it to the rail up here, but we would need a different type of mount for that. Let me look. I think the easiest thing would be to mount it to this plate. All right, guys. So we're back. Day number 2. Let me show you what we got going on. We got fuel pump mounted. Fuel pump is mounted under here. I went ahead and mounted it to the bottom of the fuel cell. It works out pretty good. It is above the ground, so it's a good thing when I move that up. I would not have been able to do this if I would have had the fuel pump down in the original location. So it is down below. We have an adapter that goes from the number 8 to the number 10. It's just a piece of number 10 line that I had. It's the Brown mirror stuff. It's kind of coiled up under there, so we should have gravity flow. So this line right here now is temporary because I'm still waiting on my one-way check valve. So it's going to go right here. So I'm going to have to, I didn't want to cut this line. This is old number 6 line I had for transmission. So we got that. We got all the fittings in line. I don't want to cut it at one time is my plan. So So that fitting will be here tomorrow, and it'll go on right here. Got the fitting, just a 1/8 inch, number 10 AN gauge port adapter is all it is. I have forgot to order it, so luckily Mike had a couple high amp relays, the NOS or Holly ones. You can see I've already got this run. The blue wire is the positive, this is the ground wire. Did a pretty good job tucking that in. I think Austin will be happy. Drag Wire Solutions, I didn't ruin his stuff. Oh, well, I kind of did, I guess. There is the high amp relay. I've got it mounted right here. And then it just goes down that orange wire and goes down to this connector down here. So then the way this works is you have, this is the trigger wire. So from the Holly, it just goes in to this J4 connector down here. Got it nice and tucked and hid, but I mean, I can't do it as good as Austin did. I mean, Austin, he does awesome wiring. So, you know, I'm adding on stuff now. I'm going to take it back to him at some point and let him probably clean all that stuff up. And he can loom it or however he wants to do it to make it more Drag Wire Solutions. All right, so let me show you what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do this. So I got this thing pulled up. This is my Holly. So all I did is I come in, and I have not tried this yet, but we're going to try it here in a second. So we got the output. We created a fuel pump primer. And then when you click that, I enable it. And then I said I wanted it to send ground because that's how that relay works. And then I drug it. It comes out when you come in here. It'll be popped up here in this corner. And so then you just simply move it down. And I've got it in the B1 spot. So that's where it's at on the computer down here. And so then I was coming up with, I was like, okay, well, how do I want to work this? I don't necessarily want it to prime every single time, but I do need it to, you know, prime if I need it, right? So I come into configure. There's a couple ways you could do this. So the way I chose to do it here. Man, you can't really even see that. Let's see. I don't know what the deal is. So up here on this one, I've got two numbers, bump, scramble. And then if the input is above 5 volts, and then if the RPM is below 50. So essentially, this is not going to prime every single time. In order for this to prime, the ignition switch will have to be home, which there's a lot of EFIs. I mean, they prime all the time, right? You turn the key forward, turn the ignition on, and they go, and then they run. But the way this one works is my bump scramble button is over here on the steering wheel. And so essentially this is it here. So if the engine is not running, then all I got to do is turn the ignition on and then press this. And I've got it set so it will run for 3 seconds. It should send the ground out and that'll send the power to the pump and it should work. Pretty easy to do. Setting up wise, and then I just put a timer here, and 3 seconds may not be enough, but if it's not, then, you know, that's fine because you can press it again, and then you get 6 seconds. So let's see, I'm gonna just, we don't have any fuel in it yet. I'm gonna go ahead and put fuel in it because I don't know if it's a good idea to run the pump or not with no fuel. So I'm gonna send this tune to the ECU, and we're gonna try it. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, well, we just got fuel in this thing. So I put a couple gallons in it. It should be gravity flowing. It's about halfway full. So we'll leave that there so we can see if it's actually returning. So we got this saved up. So we got it pushed to the computer. Active time is 2. Like I was saying, I've got it linked for the input triggers. So the RPM is below 50 and input voltage is 5. So this should run as soon as I press this. No, we did not get, it's not doing it for 3 seconds though. I wonder why it's not doing it for 3 seconds. Active time, 3 seconds. Maybe that's all, maybe I have to hold it down. Yep, you have to hold it down. I wonder if I can make it, do anything. Okay, let's see something there. Woo! Hold on. Let's just look up here. Look at this fuel pressure. I don't know if that's enough to actually return it or not, But it is saying that it made 50-some pounds of fuel pressure. So with 50-some pounds of fuel pressure, I mean, we just had everything unhooked. That should have primed it. So that should, man, that should be okay. Let's try to crank it real fast and see. All right, guys, we're gonna see if we can get this thing to crank. I was having a problem with my dash. It was not wanting to do where I wanted it to go. So we primed the fuel pump a couple times already. So I'm gonna prime it again real fast for 3 seconds. See what the fuel pressure comes up to. It's at 73, and then it goes back down to nothing. So now let's try to start it and see, in theory, maybe we don't have to prime it anymore. Maybe we don't have to hold it while we're trying to do it. Let's see if it builds fuel pressure. So I'm gonna try to crank it in. Boy, oh boy, that thing sounded good. Okay, for some reason it was idling at 22 degrees of timing right there. When I was messing with the screen earlier, it kept wanting me to go to a timing retard. So I don't know what that was doing. So maybe it did activate like a timing retard for something. It shouldn't have been idling at 22. It should have been idling at like 36. That's why I was idling so low. But boy, okay, the primer system is gangbusters, guys. This is, I think, going to work great. I can promise you 100%. With this fuel system drained like that, this would not have primed up at all, and it would not have started. There ain't a chance it would have started just off of this right here. So this little primer pump, it's an addition, but I think it's going to be well worth what we got happening. All right, guys, comment, like, and subscribe. We'll be going to a track with it this weekend. We'll see y'all soon. Appreciate y'all watching. Later. All right, boys, a little plug at the end. I'm an idiot. If you remember, I have a wheelie control sensor. Guess what it's doing right there? It's wheeling. So it is wheeling, and look at my graph. It is pulling 10 degrees of timing out.